Okay.
All right. So again, thank you all for being here today. We're going to continue the recommendation deliberation that we did last month. We got a lot done, I'll say, at the last meeting. If you remember, I started off and I was so optimistic and I just knew we'd get through the recommendations easily, and we ended up getting half done. So this is it today. We got 8 more to go. I think we can do it. So let's see if we can be as efficient as possible and getting through the recommendations. Either way, we're going to vote to finalize the commission annual reports during our November 4th meeting. But before we go dive back into the recommendations, Chris, why don't you go over the September minutes that we need to approve?
Great. Couple of housekeeping items. The meeting is being recorded, so please be mindful of your microphones and cameras. I'll do roll call real quick and a quorum check, and we'll move to the minutes. After the minutes, we will be taking public comments. So any members of the public who are online and will want to offer public comment, please put your name in the chat box. We'll add the list. And if there are any members of the public in the room, there's a sign-in sheet going around where you can indicate whether you'd like to be called upon when the time comes. So for roll call, we'll go around the room, all the commissioners, and then I'll call out names that I see online. So why don't we start at the end of the table in the room here with Dr. Dickerson?
Here. Here and accepted response.
Perfectly accepted.
Fernando Morales Wilhelm, University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science.
Kim Pezza with the comptroller, who may be online. So.
Robin Gilden, University of Maryland School of Nursing.
Jennifer Mizrahi, one of the philanthropy reps.
Paul Pinsky, Energy Administration.
Kim Coble, Maryland League of Conservation Voters.
I'm here.
Susan McClue from here as a proxy for Eric Fisher, Chair of the Critical Area Commission.
Hi, folks. David Smetic. I'm one of the NGO representatives on the commission.
Jamie Rayleigh, Farm Bureau.
Hi, everyone. Jackie Specht here on behalf of Secretary Kurtz for DNR.
Hello, everyone. Alexis Foxworth here on behalf of Commissioner Fred Hoover of the Public Service Commission.
Good afternoon. Beth Harbor with the Able Foundation, another philanthropic representative.
Okay, thank you to the commissioners in the room. So in the interest of time for those online, I'm going to go through the list and mention the commissioners I see online. So we have Delegate Dana Stein. Welcome, Delegate.
Thank you.
We have Darren Lovas. Are you here for MDOT, Darren?
I am indeed.
Great, welcome. I see Secretary Addix. Welcome, Secretary.
Thank you. I'm commuting your way. I should be there in about an hour.
Great.
Can we just wait for a second?
Nope.
Great idea. I see Administrator Belton. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
I see Mike Simpson. Are you here for Secretary Strickland?
I am indeed. Good afternoon.
Great, welcome. I see Pauline Lasis. Are you here for Council David Lapp?
Yes, I am.
Great, welcome. I see Secretary Flora.
Here.
Okay. I see Tom Valentine. Are you here for Mike Powell?
I am. Thank you.
Okay, other commissioners who I missed going through the list online? Yes, Emily?
Hi, Emily Van Norden. I'm with Constellation, and I'm here as a proxy for Brian McGalley.
Welcome, Emily. Daniel?
And this is Daniel Chase. I'm proxy for Atif Chaudhry, Secretary of DGS.
Are there any other commissioners present in this? Okay. The 22 commissioners present, we do have a quorum. Proceed. And as the secretary said, we'll start with the minutes. Included in the package for today's materials are draft minutes from the September meeting. Is there any discussion of the minutes, any suggested changes? I'll bring them up on the screen as well. Now the stone land phase that's when it kind of comes. If there's no discussion of the minutes, I suggest the commission actually a motion to approve the minutes. For September meeting. Motion and a second. All in favor. Minutes from the September meeting. I propose to just do a voice vote for this one. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? September minutes? Are there any abstentions? Okay, thank you. The minutes are approved.
All right. Thank you. Like last time, the last meeting we had, we're gonna take the public comments at the beginning of the meeting instead of at the end. So Chris, can you facilitate the public comment for us?
Yes, we'll move to public comments. So we have one person who has added their name to the list online. We'll start with them. Anyone else who intends to offer public comment, please put your name in the chat. We'll add you to the list and just checking in the room. Are there public commenters in the room? No, okay. All right. So Ann Haveman, from CCAN, please offer your comment. Thanks for joining.
Sure, yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Sorry, Ann, please pause. Having speaker issues. We heard others, so.
You can't hear me? We can hear you online, so it's not you. Okay.
Okay,
They're working, so you can read what she's saying.
interesting. We heard Ryland just fine.
Yeah, we heard about it.
Always something, huh?
I can call in.
Maybe it's on her end, because we heard her.
Well, this, I was gonna, it says she's at thing.
And coming up in the caption.
Sorry, Ann, please bear with us.
Sure. Anne offered to call in if you wanted her to try that option.
Good work.
That's it. So I try that again, just so you can test. That's it.
Now, either of those options are good, Ann. If you wouldn't mind just dialing in real quick, just to be
Okay.
singling you out, the system.
So strange.
Someone else mind chiming in so we can confirm that we still here?
Hey, Jared, can you hear me?
We can. Thank you, Ryland. I don't know why the audience.
Can we maybe just put that in?
And Ann offered to
Can you leave it?
add her comment in the chat. Yeah. Cool. If we can't do the microphone issue, stop. And also, I can know it's that way. Do that.
Can you hear me now or your phone? No.
Yeah, if you don't mind, and we still can't hear you. And so if you don't mind, yeah, we would appreciate if you could your comments in the chat. And once they're in, we'll read them out for everybody.
Or we can open it up at the end.
We can do that too.
Okay. You wanna?
All right. Sorry for the audio issues. We can move in the meantime if there are no other public comments.
Person,
It's just the other person we can hear.
thought there was two.
Sorry. I believe we just have the one
We heard it.
so far.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Anne, for working with us. And in the meantime, we can
Yep.
get into the recommendations.
Maybe do something a little different. Before we get started, is there anything anyone would like to say before we get started with the recommendations? Before we go into this round of recommendation. Opening
Happy Law Day,
statements.
everybody. Happy Law Day. Today's October 1st. We've got about 400 new laws taking effect in Maryland. So be careful what you do when you leave.
Oh, okay. Thanks for letting us know.
So Ann's comments are now in the chat.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I'll read those once we've heard from commissioners. Any other opening remarks?
Any other openings?
I'd just like to invite everybody to our symposium on October 14th, where Comptroller Learman is going to be the keynote speaker. I can send the flyer to whoever at the mission.
Ooh,
Great.
Yep. And it's online or virtual, or in person or virtual.
okay.
We're down at the Biopark.
Thank you.
And it's free. Come when you can. It's climate change, health and policy. The state steps up.
That's important. And so thank you for inviting us. All right. Anybody else?
Well, I guess two things. One is that we still have federal subsidies for heat pumps. So I hope people will continue to promote whatever subsidies still exist, number one. And number two, the Climate Policy Group is working on a summit where the different cabinet and agency secretaries will be invited to give updates on how things are going in their departments. And so I think a number of commissioners have been invited to speak, but I'm really excited about that.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Let's,
So I'll read Anne's
Yes,
comment in.
please. Mhm.
Anne, thanks again for bearing with us. I'll just read it here to everybody. My name is Ann Haveman, or rather Ann's name is Ann Haveman, here on behalf of CCAN and the Maryland Clean Heat Coalition. We are supportive of the recommendation from the Maryland Commission on Climate Change's Mitigation Working Group to develop a heat pump market transformation roadmap. The Maryland Clean Heat Coalition works to advance policies to help residents equitably upgrade to healthier, more affordable homes. Maryland residents today rely on inefficient polluting equipment that results in billions of health costs each year, drives up energy bills, and undermines our climate goals. By upgrading homes with clean, efficient, state-of-the-art systems, Maryland can deliver healthier air, affordable energy, and healthier communities. The Mitigation Working Group recommends that Governor Moore direct relevant state agencies to develop a heat pump market transformation roadmap informed by the state's heat pump deployment goals, including efficient window heat pumps. This whole of government approach is directly in line with Governor Moore's executive order on climate change, which he issued just last June. He demonstrated great leadership with that order, announcing that, quote, state government will be a leader in these efforts by implementing the actions needed within state agencies and ensuring coordination across state agencies to meet state climate goals, end quote. To kickstart the necessary market transformation, we agree with the Mitigation Working Group's recommendation that the governor should direct relevant agencies to encourage and incentivize a targeted heat pump deployment program for households currently using electric resistance and delivered fuels for heating in 2026. The same agencies should partner with local HVAC contractor networks, heat pump manufacturers, unions, and others to develop and launch a new heat pump workforce development and training program. I sent a longer letter in support of this recommendation before last month's meeting, and I would be happy to recirculate if commissioners did not receive it. Thank you, Anne, for your comment.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's go right into the recommendations.
Okay, great. So a quick reminder of the process here. So we will pick up where we left off. Last time we made it through the first 8 of 16 recommendations, concluding with the Mitigation Working Group's first recommendation. So we'll pick up at Mitigation Working Group recommendation number 2. In the recommendations document that we circulated, the recommendations that had been completed were highlighted in green. So we'll start again with item number 2 from the Mitigation Working Group. We'll consider the recommendations one by one. Continuing in alphabetical order through the working groups, we have two left, the mitigation working group and the scientific and technical working group, followed by a recommendation from individual commissioners. The chairs from the relevant working groups will introduce each one. We will discuss them. We will consider amendments that were provided in advance. And then we will vote on those recommendations. As a reminder, a majority vote in favor of a recommendation means it will be included in the draft annual report that will be brought to the commission at next month's meeting, which is then subject to a supermajority vote to approve for the year and be provided to the Governor and General Assembly as usual. So I'll bring the recommendations document up on the screen here, and it is included in your package labeled October 1st MCCC recommendations. And we will pick up where we left off with mitigation working group's recommendation number 2. Kim, as a MWG co-chair, would you like to kick us?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And Mike is out today, so he said that everything I say is correct.
Check with Tom.
Tom agrees too. Let's see, we had 4 recommendations. Number 2, the title is recommend the adoption of a clean fuel standard. And what our recommendation is that Maryland MDE should study and make a recommendation regarding the adoption of a clean fuel standard or other steps that would increase the production, importation, and use of low carbon fuels. The transportation obviously is a leading source of greenhouse gas emissions in Maryland. That was a big driver for us. And it's particularly important given the rollbacks that we have seen at the national level, especially on clean cars, clean trucks and whatnot. Chris, the text in red is an amendment that came in earlier.
That's correct, an advance amendment, yes.
Okay, so the recommendation originally said that it should be published in June of 2026. There's an amendment that says the recommendation, including an economic analysis addressing the impact of Maryland's economy and competitiveness, should be published. And I guess I don't mind an economic analysis. I have 2 concerns about that. One is that I would like to insert the word environment. So it includes an analysis addressing the impact to Maryland's environment, comma, economy and competitiveness. And then I would defer to the secretary on whether we can't get all that done, including an economic analysis by June 1st. So I just raised that as a question, but that's the recommendation.
Yeah, the date is a bit aggressive for us. Coming out of your area, so you want to talk about that?
Yeah, June is pretty soon. And if the study expands in scope, then it makes it harder, certainly.
Is there a date you feel more comfortable with?
End of the year certainly would be better for us.
Well, then I guess as co-chair, I might make that as an amendment to that whole section too, then say December 31st,
That would be great.
2026. But that's stipulated on the economic analysis being included. So if the group doesn't vote for that, then I would say June 1st.
Yeah, we have Director Pinsky.
Can someone tell us who offered the amendment to the amendment?
Oh,
Yeah, so yeah, we should give Jamie a chance to introduce his amendment. Really.
Well, Ms. Pillwell was doing such a great job, I thought I'd just be quiet. Let it go ahead. Yes, thank you for the opportunity to explain. Since it's a study and it speaks to low carbon fuels, I thought it would give more trust and credibility to a recommendation that would come out of such a study if we looked at the economics behind it. And thank you for mentioning the environment, because I was going to say that as well. what will it do for the economy? But if we do it, what will it do if we don't do it? So that's an important point. I don't know, I hadn't had time to look and see where's the nearest production facilities for these type of fuels. Low carbon fuels are generally used cooking oil, and a lot of that was coming from China for a while till the tariffs took effect. So that's stopped now, but there's also vegetable oil, and the other one is renewable diesel. Bioethanol is mostly sugarcane, as opposed to regular ethanol, which comes from corn. I think that study should also look at available production and available supply, because if the recommendation is going to be that that's a fuel supplement made that we want to use here in Maryland, where's it going to come from? What's it going to cost? How much is it going to impact fuel prices for people that would be buying it? So those were my thoughts when I made this recommendation, or rather this amendment. And I accept yours as a friendly amendment.
I just have one question,
Mhm.
and that's about the word competitive. I don't say competition is subjective, and there are economists and people who can try to put a number to that. But for example, the more states that move in this direction, the fewer states that are dragging things. And measuring that, because it's dynamic, is a little complicated. And if other states don't move in this direction, is it a race to the bottom, race to the top, I guess. And so the word competitive, I'm a little unclear if that helps or hurts the conversation. The other items you talked about, I'm fully on board with, and as adopted by Ms. Coble. I just want to raise the question of what does that mean? I mean, will we not be competitive, or if we adopt it, will more states be in that direction, and it becomes a race to the top, opposed to a race to the bottom? So
I look at it from a purely economic perspective, to whether it would place some Marylanders or Maryland businesses at a competitive disadvantage to surrounding jurisdictions that might not have to use this material. Or, as you quite well pointed out, it could create a competitive advantage for Marylanders if we're using this instead of just using regular gasoline, diesel fuel. It's my understanding that a lot of the vehicles now will burn these. So it's not going to necessitate engines being converted over to anything, but it might affect or impact the revenue or finances of businesses, and that would be my concern, especially among the agricultural sector. We use a lot of this material for our harvesting equipment and transportation equipment, but potentially we could also supply the raw material to make these products as well, if we can get some sense about a production facility.
yeah, I would like to suggest removing it and adopting everything else. I'm not sure it's value added, and I think it can be used by someone doing analysis to make a case for or against. And I think all the other items are appropriate and valid, and we want to ensure the farming community is part and parcel of the solution and not the victim. So it might not be a friendly amendment. I don't know if I'm asking you or I'm asking Mr. Raley. I don't know if you would.
I would support that. I think it is difficult to interpret. So, if the amendment could read including an economic analysis addressing the impact to Maryland's environment and economy should be published by December 31st, 2026.
Maybe to the point of order process wise. So this is a recommendation offered in advance by Mr. Raley. So what we're doing right now is effectively discussing it that what you moved. So if any of these are amenable to you, I think process wise, I think you could indicate that. And then we will vote on this amendment in the form that would like to move, since it is issue. And so I suggest maybe if you have a direct response to that suggestion right now, and then we have hands up from Dr. Dickerson and Jackie.
Well, to make it clear in my mind, do you want to make an amendment to take out the word competitiveness? Otherwise, I'd leave it in there. We'd vote it up or down.
That's fine. I would like to remove the one word, keep everything else in.
So that's an amendment.
If we're following, if
you're comfortable,
you were prior to being accepted.
I'd prefer that the competitiveness remain in there so you can make that assessment.
Fine.
When you folks do the analysis.
Okay, so it'll remain in there while we continue to discuss it. And so, hands from Russ Dickerson, then Jackie said.
Just a quick comment for whoever is going to carry out this study. I want to get into the record that if biofuels require additional fertilizer, then we must consider put into the equation the emissions of oxides of nitrogen, including nitrous oxide, this greenhouse gas, and fertilizer impact on air and water. I don't think we need to amend it, but something just whoever's doing the study should be aware of.
Okay, Jackie, and then we'll have to.
And actually builds on that. Just that if a study is done, the idea that life cycle emissions should be factored in as well because of.
Good idea.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, and then we have David Smetic and Tom Valentine after that.
Yeah, I think I don't want to throw in too many potential approaches here, but the Climate Solutions Now Act and the original Greenhouse Gas Reduction Act included a variety of language on how to assess the climate action plans, including net economic benefit, increases or decreases in jobs in the state, et cetera. Forgive me, I lost my voice over the weekend. So I think, I don't believe the word competitiveness is in there, but I believe that the spirit of ensuring that there is net economic benefit to the state, that there is net environmental benefit in the state into the CSNA language. And I'm curious if there's a way to just refer to the goals of the CSNA in the amendment rather than having additional language folded in there. I think the more that we can reference back to the statute could be helpful in that situation, because I think that's how MDE typically analyzes these kinds of proposals anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sorry, thanks, David. Sure. So I just, if you have suggested tweaks to the amendment you'd like to discuss or want to offer that concept and look to Tom.
I would look at it as having the amendment read the recommendation should be based upon an analysis conducted by the department in line with the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act, and should be published by whatever date we would put in there. Again, that is different than what you proposed.
That's replace the amendment or replace the language, the most of the language in number 2.
It would replace the language in the amendment offered by Commissioner Riley. If we still wanted to move forward with a study in that, I think that could address some of the concerns about the language that differs a bit from what's in the statute.
Okay, so Mr. Riley, if you're open to making that change to yours, otherwise we could continue yours as written and consider that alternative in another way.
Yeah, we can continue with what I have, and I think we had somebody else up on the board, right?
We do, yes. So Tom Valentine.
Thanks, Chris. Just to reset the context, I'm Tom Valentine. I'm here on to represent Michael Powell today, who couldn't attend. I'm also a member of the mitigation work group and participated in the voting session on this recommendation. And I thought it was important it may have been an oversight, but the description of the recommendation, I don't think was amended after the text of the recommendation was amended. And it infers a straight recommendation to adopt a clean fuel standard when the sense of the work group was to study a fuel standard and other policies that could improve the adoption of low carbon fuels in the transportation sector. So I'd like to propose an amendment that the description be changed to read, recommend policies to increase the use of low carbon fuels in the transportation sector, and then strike adoption of clean fuel standard in the description.
You mean the title?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
just to make it sync up with the changes that we made in the work group.
Yeah, that's a friendly amendment.
And I've also endorsed Jamie Raley's amendment. I think it's an important one.
Okay, so I guess we'll take these one at a time. If there's no more discussion of James' amendment, we can vote on it and then consider the remainder of the recommendation at that point.
Could you read it back so everybody knows what they're voting on?
Yeah, sure. That's
Unclear how Tom suggested amendment affects both what Kim had spoken about earlier and Mr. Raley. I'm trying to sync up. I'm not.
I suggest we take them one at a time. So we consider Jamie's first and then we turn to Tom's as a second item after we resolve it.
And he's asking what's the
There's only two.
The title.
Oh, okay, I thought he was listening to the body.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's no more discussion of Commissioner Raley's amendment, we will consider it moved. And I suppose we should ask for a second for the motion to amend recommendation number 2 to read in the final sentence, the recommendation and inserting at this point, comma, including an economic analysis addressing the impact to Maryland's environment, economy, and competitiveness, comma, should be published by December 31st, 2026. The date is outside the scope of this current. Do we have a second? We have a second. Okay, so we'll vote. A majority vote will determine whether it is amended thusly, and then we'll consider the recommendation as a whole. All in favor of amending mitigation working group number 2, as a reminder, sorry, voting wise, we'll raise hands in the room and use the raise hand function online, and we'll go through yes, no, and abstain. Okay, so all in favor of amending NWG number 2 for this amendment, please raise your hands and keep them up, please. The amendment, we are voting on Jamie Raley's amendment to add the phrase in the final sentence, including an economic analysis addressing the impact of Maryland's environment, economy, and competitiveness. All in favor, please raise your hands. Please keep them up online. You can lower them in the room. Keep them up online. Okay, you can lower them online. All opposed, please raise your hands. Lower them in the room. Thank you. You can lower them online. Are there any abstaining? Okay, so you can lower your hands. So the amendment does pass. The vote was 15 in favor, 6 opposed with 2 abstaining. So NWG number 2 has been amended with the new language in the final paragraph.
Point of order question myself.
Yes, please.
What did that title get changed to?
We're going to tackle that
That's
now.
next.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, that's a good question.
Like Director Pitsky, I kind of got lost in translation.
Yep. Okay, so I suggest we now move to the title change. So the title originally read, recommend the adoption of a clean fuel standard. The suggested change is change that to recommend policies to increase the use of low carbon fuels in the transportation sector.
Eric?
No, I
Just got one.
Mute.
I gotta get out of this.
Process question here.
I can get-
Is Chris's on the table or will it be? The proposed language, were you offering it formally? Want to read this? To this, David, sorry,
Oh, no,
I
it's
called you
okay.
Chris, I apologize, David.
I was offering it to Commissioner Riley's.
Okay,
original one.
okay, got it, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I wrote it down as a process point. It could still be proposed,
Oh, fair, okay, sounds good.
I suppose. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is policies to increase use of,
Low carbon fuels in the transportation sector. So the amendment proposed by Tom Ballantyne is purely to the title. To change it from reading recommend the adoption of a clean fuel standard to recommend policies to increase the use of low carbon fuels in the transportation sector.
thank you.
Yep, so Kim, as the co-chair of the working group, I believe you said that that would be consistent with the working groups. Is that correct?
Yes.
Darren has his hand up.
Thanks,
Darren, did you have
Jennifer.
your-
No, thanks, Jennifer. I appreciate that. That was a mistake.
Okay, is there discussion of that? Yeah,
Question.
Director Pinsky.
So is the adoption of a clean fuel standard being removed?
Yes, so it's replacing everything after the word recommend.
In the title, the
In the
first
title.
sentence remains, make a recommendation regarding the adoption of a clean fuel standard.
Okay, any discussion of that? So Kim, we've been treating things that the co-chairs say is friendly from the working group's perspective without a vote. Do you think this is friendly enough to the working group's intent to proceed without voting on it?
Yes.
Okay. And so same question for changing the deadline to December 31st.
Yes.
Okay, so then what we'll do is we now have the recommendation has been amended in a couple of ways. The title was changed, as we just discussed. The final sentence had the additional language proposed by Jamie Raley, and the due date is December 31st. Is there further discussion of this recommendation?
I'll toss it out there if folks are willing. Yeah, I think that I still believe the study should reference the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act rather than the language regarding the economy and competitiveness. So I would have it read the recommendation, including an analysis on the net environmental and economic impacts on the state in line with the Climate Solutions Now Act goals, should be published by June 1, 2026.
December 30th.
December 31st. Sorry, reading the old copy.
So including an analysis on the net environmental and economic impacts to the state?
Yes. In line with the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act. It has a little bit more detail within the CSNI language that I think referring to that would be helpful.
Okay, so I'm going to get that on the screen here. So sentence would read the recommendation, comma, including an analysis on the net environmental and economic impacts to the state in line with the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act should be published by December 31st. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Would be my proposal, yeah.
Kim,
What do you mean net?
That is the language within the Climate Solutions Now Act.
But
That was where I grabbed it from.
Okay.
And that is how, again, MD staff, please correct me if I'm wrong, but typically I've seen the climate plans put forward with analysis on what the net economic impact is to the state of the suite of policies that are proposed. So I assume that within an individual policy that's being studied, we would have, be able to do a economic analysis and a net environmental analysis. Usually also includes some net health impacts, et cetera, but that was where I was referring to the language. So I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, is there discussion of the motion? So this would replace everything after the word including in the final sentence. It would change from reading the recommendation, including an economic analysis addressing the impact to Maryland's environment, economy, and competitiveness. It would replace that phrase with including an analysis on the net environmental and economic impacts to the state in line with the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act. And either way, it should be published by December. So indicating it up on screen here, you can see with the strike through addition in brackets. Okay, so we had a motion, we had a second. Is there discussion of this and of this motion to amend MWD number 2? Yes.
Without rereading the whole Climate Solutions Now Act, how do those goals, as you understand it, align themselves with what we're trying to do here?
Yeah, for me, we have our goals of 60% by 2031 and net zero by 2045, mid-century. And so those underlying goals of hitting those emission targets, and then the Climate Solutions Now Act includes the direction to the MDE to create a plan to meet those targets and implement that plan. As a part of that process, they have to do a series of analyses to see if the policies will meet those emission targets, but also that the policies recommended within the plan provide net economic and environmental benefit to the state. So it looks at things like jobs gained or lost, looks at the health impacts for folks with asthma attacks, premature deaths, et cetera, or the emissions target. So all of that together is to show net benefit provided to the state. So that was why I was suggesting to refer back to the statute and the Climate Solutions Now Act as something that this commission is trying to recommend to the state. We need to meet the goals, how we meet the goals of that act in particular. So the low carbon fuel standard is one potential way to meet some of those goals, especially for the transportation sector. And if it were to be a policy that the MDE would develop, adopt, and implement, it should be a part of the Climate Solutions Now Act criteria, meeting those net benefits to the state.
I think I mean, I was thinking about it and I think it's fine because it is already written in there that we have to do a net economic analysis to make sure that there's a balance. So we're just restating what's already in the Climate Solutions Now Act. So I would say it's not a big deal. We're just putting it on here, but we have to do it anyway as part of the law. So it doesn't matter. I mean, so it's fine. Keep it in, we could take it out. Either way, we have to do it. So. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, further discussion of the motion? Okay, well then we can move to vote. So what you are voting on is up on the screen here, changing the final sentence to read the recommendation, including an analysis on the net environmental and economic impact of the state in line with the goals of the Climate Solutions Now Act, should be published by December 31st, 2026. So we'll take, yes, we have the motion, we have the second, and so now we can move to vote. So all in favor of that amendment, please raise your hands. And lower them in the room, please keep them up online. Okay, you can lower them online. Any opposed to this amendment, please raise your hands. Are there any abstentions? Okay, so that amendment passed unanimously with 22 votes in favor. So now we have a recommendation that if there are no more amendments, we could vote on as amended.
Right.
Thanks everyone for all the process work here. So the recommendation on the screen has been amended with a new title and a new final sentence and a new deadline. Is there a motion to vote on this amendment on the question of including it? Vote on this recommendation on the question of including it as amended in the annual report.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there discussion of the motion before we vote? No. Okay, so all in favor of including MWG number 2 as amended in the annual report, please raise your hands. Lower them in the room. Okay, you can lower them online. Are there any opposed? And are there any abstentions? Okay, so that one was also unanimous, 22. Thank you, everyone. And Madam Comptroller, if you could lower your hand for the next vote. Moving to mitigation working group number 3. Kim Coble.
Thank you. This recommendation is specific to developing a heat pump market transformation roadmap. And the recommendation basically does 4 things. It says that the MGA should authorize the use of the CEF for grants and loans for building electrification, which I believe is already intact, but it's secondly, it calls on the governor to direct a whole slew of state agencies, including MEA, MDE, DHCD, Department of Labor, MCEC, and others, to collectively develop a heat pump market transformation roadmap. And it says, the idea there is to kickstart the market transformation and give some tools. Thirdly, it calls on the governor. The governor says that he's directing the agencies to encourage and incentivize a targeted heat pump deployment program for households who are using electric resistance or delivered fuels for heat. And lastly, those agencies will partner with the HVAC contractor network to develop and launch a new heat pump workforce development and training program. So those are the 4 goals. What we try to do is develop what do we believe needs to happen in order to make that bridge between where we are and where we need to be with heat pumps.
Thank you. Your discussion of this recommendation?
Just a question, if somebody could share, I believe the same group published the Building Energy Transition Plan maybe last year. And that seems to address all of the things that are discussed in here. I looked at this on page 21, item D, speaks directly to what is in this recommendation that we have before us today. So that's why I was wondering,
well,
if we already got it, why do we need it again?
Well, that report gave findings. This is a recommendation to the governor and the General Assembly that the findings of that report move forward.
Ah, understood.
So it's just,
Thank you.
it's more of an administrative action.
Thanks for clearing that up. One other thing I'd like to share. I spoke to 2 people that own heating, ventilation, air conditioning. That's what HVAC is, just to make sure everybody knows the acronym. And I spoke to 2 owners of those in my area. And they recognize the benefit that heat pumps can provide. Generally, that electric bill is a little bit more stable, or used to be more stable than fuel that can go up and down. But they gave me a quick lesson on it. These heat pumps don't always work well in older houses because those houses aren't designed like an old farmhouse like I have. And with the demand that is coming on our grid, given that we're importing about 40% of our electricity now. To increase these now might be, or to promote these right now might be a challenge if it actually added to the burden of electrical usage here in the state. And lastly, they said they were kind of, because I gave them a copy of the recommendations, especially at the end, the last sentence, to partner with them on training, launching new heat pump workforce. That's largely already done through high school technical centers and a lot of the community college. I know the one in Southern Maryland has a very large facility for training people. And then the carriers come around and they also provide training at the heat pump offices. So perhaps there should be some language that would clarify, maybe directing more resources to our career and technology education that we have under the blueprint to provide or take care of this situation.
Yeah, I think those are very good points. So I guess going to the last one first, that well, generally speaking, the intent here is to develop this roadmap, right? It's not mandating that everybody use heat pumps right now, regardless of anything. It's giving the agencies the instructions that we want to figure out how to get there. And so we don't give a deadline for the agencies to achieve that roadmap, but we do give a deadline for the governor to direct them to. So I don't know that there's an imminent threat to grid reliability or anything else. And I feel like the language is flexible enough that if it didn't make sense to do a worker, that they would be able to adapt a workforce training program to meet the needs. But if you have some language to give a little bit more flexibility in there, I'd be open to it. But yeah.
We'll do if somebody else has their hand up.
Tom.
Sure. Well, why don't we go to Tom and then we'll circle back on that. Tom?
Thanks, Chris. So Michael had concerns, and I concur with the language that directs the agencies to develop the plan, quote, as detailed in the climate pollution reduction plan, the NESCOM MOU. I think our thinking there is that those plans might not take into account current conditions and Maryland specific challenges. And the way to address that, in our opinion, was to give the agencies more latitude by removing the reference to those existing documents. We're sort of narrowing the scope potentially by asking them to follow the plans as detailed, fashion the plan as detailed in those previous documents. And that amendment would remove the language beginning with "as" on, I guess that's line 7 in my document, down through buildings on line 9.
So it's a little bit difficult because both Tom and Mike are part of the MWG, and this is the first that I'm hearing about a concern with the referencing of this. So at this point, I would not consider that a friendly amendment. I'd have to.
Okay, well, we can, Tom, consider that, I guess, a motion to amend at this point, process-wise, from you, if you'd like to.
Yes, I'd like to make that motion.
I would say, in the future though, you all are on the same work group, for time considerations for us, if you can discuss those things at, the appropriate time instead of us doing it now, because it just seems a little odd to right, you're kind of going against each other. But let's just go ahead and move forward with this one.
Understand. Thank you, Secretary.
For purposes of discussion, I second it.
Okay, so it has been seconded, so we'll move to discuss it. I see David Smetic, your hand is up.
Yep.
If it's on a different topic, we can put you on the list. If it's on this one, you can go now. Yep. Okay,
It's
great.
it's on this. I'm going to vote no on the amendment. I think that including those references does not really restrain the department in creating or the departments in kind of creating this roadmap. I think actually they're good guiding lights. The climate pollution reduction plan is the state's climate pollution reduction plan, which has goals for heat pump deployment within it. I think that's pretty clear and apparent how it can be helpful. And the NESCOM MOU is a agreement that the state of Maryland joined from the governor's direction and from Secretary McElwain's leadership. The MOU just expanded to another state. Washington joined 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And so I think that this is a demonstration of having Maryland look at what a shared group of states with similar interests is trying to do. And then this recommendation is directing, if it were to be implemented, it would direct the state to collectively work internally to meet the goals of a wide market of actors. And so I really think having those pieces in there is really helpful. I disagree that it constrains the agencies from moving forward with this kind of work. I think it actually, as I said at the start, is a good guiding light for them to do it. So I'm going to vote no on this amendment. I think that it's really helpful to have that in there.
Great. Thank you, David. Next is Tom Valentine.
The work group amended in the language above that directs the plan to be informed by the heat pump deployment goals that the state's adopted. But this, the language that we're asking to be removed is adopting these other documents by reference in total, and directing that the plan conform to those in a certain way, or at least implying that. Let the agencies develop the plan based on the current best level of thinking is the recommendation and the rationale for the amendment.
Okay, I see Director Pinsky and then David Smith.
Yeah, I would join David in opposing this. I mean, it does everything that's been said, but I'm very curious about the last few words about the drive towards zero emission residential buildings. That's actually in the Climate Solutions Now Act. And I know there is a constituent group that continues to fight what's in law. You don't want to make that transition in large residential buildings over 35,000 square feet. So I think current language basically reinforces what's in the Climate Solutions Now Act, a wonderful act, if I say so myself. And taking this out, I think, is being used as ammunition in the fight to push back on the Climate Solutions Now Act, which is the law of the state. So I will be voting no with David.
Appreciate it. David, and then if there's no further discussion, we'll move to vote.
Yeah, I would push back on the adoption by reference. The state, these are the state goals. They've already adopted them. So I don't follow that logic. So anyway, I apologize. I will be voting no.
Okay, is there further discussion of the motion to amend?
Just outsider reading in, I mean, it says, like these documents, it doesn't say like these are the only documents or these are the, so I don't read it as leaning people towards that. So I would also lean towards voting no.
Okay, there's no further discussion, then we can vote. So what you are voting on is the proposed amendment up on the screen, striking these words from the second sentence. Striking the clause as detailed in resources like the Climate Pollution Reduction Plan and the NESCOM state's multi-state memorandum of understanding on accelerating the transition to zero emissions residential buildings. All in favor of this amendment, please raise your hands. Okay, thank you. All opposed, please raise your hands. You can lower them in the room. Please keep them up online. Okay, you can lower them online. Please raise your hands. And lower your hands. Okay, so the motion fails. The vote was 1 in favor, 16 opposed with 2 abstentions. So the recommendation is back as proposed by the working group, and since it's in the form proposed by the working group, our practice is to consider it moved and seconded. Is there discussion on the recommendation as proposed originally by the working group for inclusion in the annual report? Any further discussion? Okay, so then we can move to vote on whether to include mitigation working group number 3 on developing a heat pump market transformation roadmap in the annual report. All in favor of including MWG number 3, please raise your hands. Lower them in the room. Thank you. Please keep them up online. Okay, you can lower them online. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your hands. Thank you. You can lower them. Any abstentions? Okay, thank you. So the vote was 19 in favor, 2 opposed with no abstentions. So MWG number 3 will be included in the annual report. Thank you all. Moving to mitigation working group number 4. Kim?
Thank you, Chris. This is a pretty straightforward recommendation, and the mitigation work group had some discussions because if you go back to the 2024 set of recommendations, there's a whole page on cap and invest, and we had a big recommendation regarding that. And our task was not to repeat what had been done previously. So what the mitigation work group did is to look at it and say, all right, instead of being so explicit about calling for a cap and invest program to be developed, what it's saying is the administration should take the next step in developing a cap and invest program. And that's fairly broad. And the only direction we're giving them is that the cap and invest program should hold low-income customers harmless, and a percentage of the revenue should be distributed to low-income customers. But otherwise, we're saying the Moore administration should move forward. It should take the next steps to develop an economy-wide cap and invest program, which is a little more relaxed approach than what we had said last year. There are some amendments that have been offered, and I'm not sure how to, well, personally, I think they're great. I'm a little concerned that actually just makes us repeat 2024 a little bit. So I guess I would want to get maybe MDE's thoughts on that, but that's the recommendation.
Okay, and we have the chair and then we'll move. Yep.
Okay, so I appreciate what you just said. When I read it and I read the recommendation that we already had, I move that we remove this recommendation from the voting list because it was already included in the previous annual report. And to me, it's basically saying the same thing. And so I recommend that we remove it from the voting list.
Okay, so I think we can consider that a motion to remove it. Do we have a second? We have a second. Is there discussion of that motion? This is the motion to remove this from the voting list as a repeat. Yes, so David Smetic.
I'm trying to pull up the language. When I first, from last year, when I first read this, I thought, so admittedly, it's similar to Kim in terms of this was requesting additional work to be done. I admit I very well might have forgotten, but I don't remember if we received an update on the design and development of the Cap and Invest program from this point last year. Maybe happening, and I might have missed a meeting, so I apologize if I did, but this would be a way for us to. I understand it's very consistent with last year's, but I think this is saying next year, we would like to see some progress on the design and development of Cap and Invest program. It's not saying adopt it. I believe that was the original language before we did amendments last year. And so I view this as pretty straightforward of, can you please continue to do the work? And report back to us on how it's coming kind of thing. That was my take on it.
Continue to do what work though? Because it didn't go anywhere last year. So it's already in there. It was in the recommendation. So what exactly would be continued?
Well, I think that's part of, I think, the issue. Originally, if I remember correctly, again, I don't have the language in front of me. We were debating last year, asking the General Assembly to do something.
Right.
We stepped that back and asked the agencies to do something on this, to evaluate it and design and develop it. And so if things haven't happened on that, I guess the question is why? And in 2026, can we have that happen? Because that's a key piece of the climate pollution reduction plan, is having this backstop Cap and Invest program to both ratchet down the remaining emissions down the road and also provide some revenue to the state to reinvest and make sure the low income households are receiving some distribution back. So again, if there wasn't work done on it last year after we did recommend it, I think reiterating it with a more specific request to evaluate, design and develop without the word adoption, that is not in there. I'm sorry, I'm reading a little bit into the amendment language, but that was my take on it. It was not requesting adoption, but it was requesting some concrete progress.
So, okay. I know we were asked to continue, consider a report. We're doing that, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So last year's recommendation was for the General Assembly to authorize a study. And then there was sort of a lengthy discussion of the scope of the study. So it was the General Assembly should authorize a study, and then upon receipt of the study, then a couple of things, that MDE should adopt a reporting rule.
Right.
And that the General Assembly should consider whether to direct us to adopt a broader rule. So the General Assembly did not authorize such a study, so the study hasn't been performed. In the meantime, furthering other Climate Commission recommendations and also the governor's executive order, MDE has been developing a clean heat standard. And part of that is a reporting rule for heating fuels, and that we proposed that published in the Maryland Register 2 Fridays ago. It's out for comment right now. That would, in theory, be a piece of a reporting rule for a broader Cap and Invest, because it would be gathering emissions information from a sector of the economy where we do not currently gather that. So the department is moving on that front through a slightly different process, of course, through the development of the clean heat standard, but it is relevant in that way.
But doesn't it make sense for MWG to evaluate the reports that we've already done as part of the work plan?
The reporting rule.
The reporting rule.
I think the difference, Madam Secretary, is that the economy-wide Cap and Invest program is about producing revenue. And right, we wrote the Climate Solutions Now Act, we wrote the pollution reduction plan, which calls for $1 billion a year, and the state has not taken any direct steps to create that revenue. And the General Assembly, there has been no group recognizing that until we get some more money in this direction, we're not going to meet our goals. What this recommendation is saying is, let's just take the next step so that we're not sitting here next year saying we didn't do anything. That's the background there.
I still think procedurally, this was already included. To me, it's a bit of a stretch, but I think we should I mean, I really did think about this a lot. I really, and I had my team work with me to compare, and I really did try to find a difference. I think it's the same. I think we're moving forward, with things that you just talked about. So I would suggest that we remove this from the voting list.
So does that mean
The
that we
amendment?
won't vote on it? Or does that mean we vote and if it goes down?
We can, go ahead, you were about to say
Process
something.
wise, you can handle it either way. The motion on the
mean-
table right now is to remove it from the annual report, which would functionally be the same as it being voted down, perhaps. And the commission can pursue either way. I would say that process wise, the motion has been made and seconded, and we're discussing that motion. So I think process wise, I would suggest we see it through in that way.
Okay.
Well, you could also amend the motion to table discussion until the next meeting. If folks wanted to table it and try to discuss it and come to an agreement.
Thank you. And that's Comptroller Learman for those who can't see on the screen. Delegate Stein?
Yes, thanks. I would support what the controller is recommending.
Process wise, can we do that after
Yeah,
the?
you can amend the
motion.
motion. So
Okay.
I would move to amend the motion to table a vote on this particular item until the next meeting or until the next time the commission can come to discuss. And then somebody would need to second that motion and we'd need to vote on that.
I would second that.
Does that kill it until next year?
If it's till the next
No,
meeting.
it's just
we are-
until the next meeting.
We're meeting November 4th.
But we can still vote at that meeting.
Correct. This would table it until the November meeting.
On the table, we might as well just vote today.
We are
What's
discussing.
different? What's gonna be different next week? I
Well,
mean, the next meeting.
I mean, this is new to me. I will say I briefed and went over all of these, but the distinction that's trying to be made is a new distinction to me. And so I'd like to have the chance to review it. But if others disagree and they feel perfectly comfortable, that's their prerogative.
Okay.
Okay, so process wise, we have a motion to amend the action before us to be tabling this until the next meeting, which is next month. So we're in the process of that has been moved and seconded. So this is discussion of that motion. Is there any more discussion of that motion before we act upon it?
But we didn't ever vote on Secretary McElwain's.
Then this is amending that. The motion is amending the chair's motion. Yeah, so that it would be tabling this until next month rather than removing it from the list. Okay, so if there's,
Feel more comfortable with that, personally, yeah.
okay, so if there's no more discussion about that or questions about what exactly we are about to vote on, then we can move to vote. Move on, we can proceed to vote. So the motion before us is to amend the motion the secretary had made so that we would be tabling this recommendation until next month. That is what you're about to vote on. Okay, so all in favor of the motion, please raise your hands. And lower them in the room, please keep them up online. Okay, you can lower them online. Are there any opposed to the motion? Please raise your hands.
Opposed to the motion?
Opposed to the motion.
The table.
Table.
No.
It's quite confusing. Okay, so raise your hands for those opposed. Thank you. You can lower your hands. Okay, are there abstentions? Okay, thank you. So that was amending the motion that was on the table, and that was a successful vote, 14 in favor, 5 opposed with 2 abstentions. So now the motion has been amended. So the motion before the commission now is to table MWG number 4 until the November meeting. Is there discussion now that we've amended the motion? Okay, then I think we would then move to vote. So we're going to vote now on whether to table MWG number 4 until the November meeting. All in favor of tabling MWG number 4 until the November meeting, please raise your hand. You can lower them in the room. Please keep them up online. Okay, you can lower them online. All opposed to the motion to table, please raise your hands. Okay, you can lower them. Thank you. Are there abstentions? Okay, thank you. So this has been tabled to the November meeting. The motion was 13 in favor. The vote was 13 in favor, 6 opposed with 1 abstention. So MWG number 4 has been tabled for the commission to take back up when we meet in November. Okay, so that concludes the mitigation working group's recommendations. We can now move to the science and technical working group. Dr. Fernando Morales-Wilhelm, as chair, will lead us through.
Yes, thanks, and thanks for the opportunity to present these to you. Our portfolio of 4 recommendations address primarily developing new sources of data, improved sources of data, studies that are needed to inform decision makers of towards decisions. So the first of two of our recommendations have to do directly with 2 of the greenhouse gases, and 2 are related to studies that need to be done. So I have some other members of our group here will present these in sequence. The first one has to do with nitrous oxide. Currently, the information that the state uses for nitrous oxide is downscaling emission estimates from national estimates. So we are directing the MDE and MDA to improve the sources of data for nitrous oxide for emissions, as well as the strategies to mitigate those emissions that would be informed by those improved data sources. So let me pause there and see if there's any questions, discussion.
Thank you. Question, discussion of STWG number 1. Yes, Jamie O'Donnell.
Yes, the asking here is for 2 of our state departments to do this accounting, and it goes on to say that the nitrous oxide is a byproduct of the denitrification process when either commercial fertilizers or manure are applied for agricultural purposes. I appreciate the work group putting these references in here. They didn't make riveting reading, but I did look at the abstracts. And I found several of them referred to things that the United Nations is doing, and one was something in Canada. There was, I believe, one Maryland specific, but a couple of them were interesting in that one that had Dr. Davidson wrote in 2 of them, he co-published, and one on drainage didn't find any significant effect of drainage water management on greenhouse gas emissions. I'd never considered that before, so I thought it was interesting, but I suggest, Dr. Morales-Wilhelm, that there's a way to measure this without involving 2 departments and some state resources, because of the work that we've been doing here in the agricultural sector for many years. We have nearly 500,000 acres that are in the cover crop program. That program is actually oversubscribed, and cover crop programs are a great way to take up excess nutrients, not only protect the soil, but keep erosion down. The University of Maryland and MDA are also consistently teaching farmers about and requiring split applications of nitrogen. For example, when I fertilize my hay fields, I fertilize it 3 times a year so that all that nitrogen is not put out at once. Otherwise, I'm wasting a lot of money. Sure. And it'll volatilize off into the atmosphere. Right. And it won't be plant available. So that helps to reduce this. We're also doing a lot of variable rate nitrogen fertilizer management through the EQIP program. That's a conservation program that provides funding. And lastly, Maryland has a very, very good manure management program that prohibits putting manure out during cold weather from December 16th to March 1st. So my point is, in concluding, is that if you want to measure these things, there are mechanisms to do that. Davidson Research Group and some of the other ones who are on your committee could do that. So I would not be able to support this at a time when our resources are stretched, when it could be quite probably done as well through private means.
Thank you. Further discussion, reactions? Dr. Dickerson?
I'm trying to understand the bottom line of your comment. You're saying we currently do not have a budget for Maryland. The national and international budgets for greenhouse gases are notoriously weak when applied to small scale, sometimes even at the large scale. So our objective is to understand better just how much N2O, how much nitrous oxide is coming off of Maryland farms, and it's not monitored right now. And the models, there are no models with the kind of resolution we're looking for to help the Maryland Department of the Environment.
So my concern also is sometimes there's unintended consequences to when we go look at things like that. There's other mandatory requirements that end up putting on the farming community if they're using manure for fertilization, and the breakdown rates, the nitrification rates are different. So there's a potential for
I think the advantage
challenges
is to
there.
understand those issues and the ones that are peculiar to Maryland.
So when you were articulating your comment, I thought you were leaning in the direction of supporting the recommendation I stated, because I think that the logic that you're following is captured by the current text in the recommendation, because what we're saying, and again, I'm not a nitrous oxide expert, I'm just trying to read, I'm reading the recommendation as stated. It really directs the two departments to improve the state's accounting. It's whether it's funded by private means, I mean, we're not getting into that level of detail, but we want to set a direction to move, for the state to move towards a better accounting of nitrous oxide. Who's going to do it? Who's going to pay for it? That would need to be, fleshed out, but that's not in the scope of the recommendation as stated. I was, like I said, when I heard you articulate, I said, yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And I continue, and I still agree with you. But I think it's captured by the current language in the recommendation. That's my take.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, if there's no further discussion and there are no amendments proposed, since it's in the form proposed by the working group, we're considering it moved and seconded so we can move to vote on STWG number 1, question of including it in the annual report. So we'll take that vote now. All in favor of including STWG number 1 in the annual report, please raise your hands. And lower them in the room. Please keep them up online. You can lower them online. All opposed, please raise your hands.
You didn't even say field tile.
Thank you. And then any abstentions? Okay. Thank you. SCWG number 1 will be included in the annual report. The vote was 16 in favor, 1 opposed with 1 abstention. Moving to STWG number 2.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Is it up there? Okay, great. This is addressing emissions of methane. There are a number of, it calls for a study and examine different methods for controlling nutrient input into the Chesapeake Bay, which is generally good for water quality and can reduce methane emissions from these biogenic sources as well. There are studies of wetlands that say sometimes wetland remediation does not improve methane emissions. So it calls for further understanding of what can we do to put nature back in charge of our wetlands that will also help reduce Maryland's greenhouse gas footprint, methane being extremely important, and also addresses manure management, which and other, not just manure, but municipal waste as well, which can be a substantial source of methane. So basically it calls for a multi-pronged attack on better understanding of methane. We have a recommendation, I think, on landfills already. We're making progress there. This is some other important sources. Methane being low-hanging fruit in terms of improving our greenhouse footprint. More bang for the buck.
Thank you, Dr. Dickerson. Discussion of SCWG number 2. Yes, Jamie, really.
Now, this one I can support.
A discussion on his support.
Well, on item A, our agricultural nutrient management program speaks directly to that. We've been doing that for a couple of decades now. And it not only covers farming, but it covers turf grass application as well, and fertilizer. So the work they're done there, helps ensure that fertilizer and animal waste doesn't get into the resources, and it's put out in an environmentally sound way. We have a cost share program for sentence number B there on wetland restoration methods. That's working very well. And lastly, there's been a lot of work done on through the Maryland Animal Waste Technology Assessment and strategy planning. So I look at this as that was Dr. Lansing, by the way, at College of AGNR. I think she's in the environmental section.
Yeah.
A lot of work that's been done, so perhaps it would speed up the work of your committee and also educate them. For example, the National Statistics Service for Agriculture, there's 14 anaerobic digesters that are active in the state at least. So I think that fits right in with what we're trying to do here.
Okay.
For the record, she helped us. Right.
Is there any further discussion? Then being this is as proposed by the working group, we're considering it moved and seconded. And so if there's no further discussion, we'll move to I see a hand up from Secretary Flora.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Chris. Based on
Secretary Flora.
actually, in fact, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
Sorry, Secretary Flora, we don't hear you.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
we can hear you. You're fine. You're showing up in the transcription.
Yeah,
Oh.
I can hear you
It's
online as
So
well.
it's a speaker issue on our end.
Okay.
On
Well, I'll just let everyone online hear what I have to say then. It seems like we are doing all of this, so it's measures
Maybe somebody else.
to decrease. It seems repetitive. I mean, if there's a way to enhance.
I think we're going to bring it more centrally, so it's.
Jared, can you hear me?
Yep, I'll mute. Yep, sorry.
So I know people online can hear me. Can y'all hear me in the room?
We can now. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, sorry to hold things up. I think it was reinforced by the person who just spoke that these things are being done. So I'm just curious as to if we've really got the language right here, these are measures to decrease. I mean, the measures are happening. So shouldn't we be referring to something to either enhance or promote or incentivize further or something? It just seems like this is repeating stuff that's already being done. So that's my comment. Take it wherever folks are, but really important. And it's great work that we're doing. So if anything, I think we should be supporting it further, but it's not really indicating how much it's already being done. So as it said, should explore the following measures. It's maybe further enhance or further document or something doesn't seem to quite hit the mark here, the way I'm reading it. So thank you.
I think the point for this recommendation, the previous one, is there are a lot of good actions being taken by farmers in Maryland, cover crops, for example, that can reduce emissions of nitric oxide. We know that. But a lot of these important activities, best management practices, we don't know their impact on N2O or methane emissions. And so we're calling for following up on these processes and quantifying just how much improvement do we get in our greenhouse gas footprint from taking these actions. And we need your help to do that.
But that's not what it's saying. It's saying
She's talking.
following measures to decrease. It doesn't say it doesn't say to quantify or to put KPIs associated. It's just not what it's saying. I mean, I don't disagree with the measures. It's just that's not what that's saying. So, but since I'm not there in the room, hopefully that I hope there's others that understand that it's good work and I want to support it. It's just that's not saying measure it to try to understand its impact so that we can really target. Thank you.
Friendly amendment to stick in there. Okay, we would accept as a friendly amendment to add the word quantify before reduce.
Adding quantify at which point?
Quantify and decrease.
Okay. In A, so A would read quantify and decrease.
Or A.
No,
Or
I think
following measures to quantify the decrease in methane.
Right, so it's prior,
Yes.
it's prior to all
Yes.
three.
Prior to the word, quantify and.
STEM,
The
second
stem.
line.
So it would read, the Maryland Department of Agriculture and University partners should explore the following measures to quantify and decrease methane production. Was that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay, and the working group considers that friendly. Okay. All right, any further discussion? WG number 2. No, well then we can proceed to vote considering it moved and seconded. All in favor of including STWG number 2 on methane production in the annual report, please raise your hands. Thank you. You can lower them in the room. All right, and thank you. You can lower them online. All opposed to STWG number 2? And are there abstentions? Okay, so STWG number 2 will be included. The vote was unanimous with 18 in favor. Moving to STWG number 3.
Thank you. So in 2008, the MCCC published a report titled Comprehensive Assessment of Climate Change Impacts in Maryland, also known as the Global Warming of the Free State. As some of my colleagues have pointed out, that report published in 2008 is almost old enough to vote. So what our working group is proposing is to do a comprehensive update of that report, which has been so useful to date, considering some key landmark documents and reports that have been produced since, particularly recently, findings from the 2016 Maryland Climate and Health Profile Report, the STWG sea level rise projections for Maryland published in 2023, Maryland's climate pollution reduction plan also in 2023, include a prospective scenario of Maryland's net zero 2045 goals across all sectors in the state, major sectors in the state: transportation, energy, residential, and agricultural. So it's essentially a revamp of this landmark study that the MCCC did a while back. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion of STWG number 3.
I'm not familiar with global warming in the Free State, but interesting title. It's a really minor thing, but I'm wondering if the last sentence of the paragraph could read, this update will consider reports, including the following. In other words, because we restricted it to 4 and there's,
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
it's super friendly. Yeah.
Fine.
Okay, so to read, they will consider reports, including the following.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Dr.
And
Tillman.
I would just like to point out that I think the very first recommendation from the ARWG that we had discussed included updating the climate and health profile or report. So obviously we would be using
Synergize.
that.
Synergize, yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be from 2016.
Okay, yes. Right.
Is there a change necessary?
No, we would just work together to
Okay.
do both.
Okay, and we have a hand from Secretary Flores. So Ian, if you could.
Come on back.
Microphone again.
Just a friendly amendment that we add, and Jason just posted it for me, that we add the Maryland's plan to adopt saltwater intrusion and salinization to that list as an item E. We're required to update every 5 years, and we just did the update, and I think it's very relevant to be added to this list. So that would be a proposed amendment.
if we want to put a due date in here for the global warming and Free State report, version 2.
We'd be be happy to. We had a little bit of that discussion within our group. However, we held back on putting a deadline just because there might be other things coming online, like what Robin just mentioned. So, but we'd be happy with an amendment that would put a deadline if that's amenable with the commission.
Well, I think it's better to have one and miss it than not have one at all. So, might suggest
end of 2027, is that?
Yeah.
That's, which is the date that we were, yeah. So maybe we can work that in.
So in that case, it would read at the beginning, perhaps by December 31st, 2027, and then the following proceed. I see it in hand from the chair.
I'm just thinking about funding for this. Is it possible that the universities can do it?
Yes, we did.
Thank you.
I like. Well done.
The only thing I was gonna mention is that we didn't want to over specify the recommendation by specifying specific funding sources. It
Be a private public
could be, yeah.
partnership,
So you can fundraise together. I mean, there's ways to do it.
cookie sale.
I'll point
Without a
out,
date, we can figure it out. With a date, it's a little more, okay, who's gonna do this. That's a lot of work for two agencies, coming, yeah, just something to think about. Yes.
It was a tremendous amount of work. I was one of the authors of the first one. It was led by Don Bosch. And he's extremely good at getting scientists to do hard work for no money. But if you want a really good report, somebody's going to have to pony up some resources for research assistance and for publishing and so on. I can give you a PDF of that original, Climate in the Free State report. It was very nice. But I don't know how successful we'll be at getting a lot of volunteers to put in that kind of effort. The field is so much bigger now than it was 18 years ago. We know so much more. The consequences are clearly more dire.
Well, with all that's going on right now, and all that we have on our plate from MDE's perspective, maybe DNR, is it DNR one here? It's just juggling a lot, because we're trying to, do so much right now, and to not have assistance or help with that. I just don't see us being able to do it. That's why I was saying maybe we can, get some help from the universities, have them do it, or.
I heard Russ volunteer.
Fernando, this is Don Bosch.
I would suggest, in partnership with the universities, with Maryland universities, and leave it as broad as that, because I think the makeup and the consistency of and the writing will probably likely be done by multiple experts from universities. And I think when it comes sometimes to the cost, it may be more about, some of the minimal, I want to say minimal cost, but printing and or some meetings and some other things that we may or may not need support from. So I think if we do it in partnership with, I think that leaves us some flexibility with the deadline still to do.
It still puts us on the hook to do it.
In partnership with.
In partnership with.
Yeah. But
In collaboration.
Right.
yeah, I think UMSI's actually ponied up. This is the first time, the first report.
So we could amend it to read a couple of different ways here. One suggestion I put up on the screen is that there would be the deadline at the beginning, but it's December 31st, 2027. Maryland Department of the Environment and the Department of Natural Resources, in partnership with Maryland universities, should update, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And, I don't think that finding the resources is going to be the big problem here. I think probably actually pulling back the recommendation because we don't think we have the resources would be like not having a deadline. Yeah? So if we're in, we're in. Yeah.
Okay, so there were several tweaks made that I think the chairs were considering friendly, but just to confirm, the addition of the saltwater intrusion plan at the end, that was a thumbs up. The addition of a December 31st, 2027 deadline was another thumb up. And then if you have a third one, Fernando, for the inclusion of the Maryland universities in the
I'm
effort.
going to put my feet up. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, one big toe. Those are all considered consistent with the working group's intent there. Is there further discussion of SCWG number 3? Okay, if there's no further discussion, we can move to vote on it. So all in favor of including SCWG number 3 in the annual report, please raise your hands. And lower them in the room, thank you. And those online, you can lower them, thank you. Are there any opposed to including SCWG number 3? And are there any abstentions? Okay, thank you. So SCWG number 3 will be included, 21 votes in favor, none opposed. Moving to STWG number 4.
Okay, I'll take that one. There was a nice recent study on the cost of climate change to the citizens of Maryland. And these costs are substantial. It was pointed out, however, that the benefit would be felt globally, and controls of CO2, methane, nitrous oxide by Maryland will also not be felt locally unless the rest of the world plays along. So currently the Maryland Department of the Environment is studying the impact of reducing greenhouse gas emissions, electrification through renewables, cars, more electric cars and trucks, and other measures to reduce our greenhouse gas footprint. That will have a benefit for what the EPA calls criteria pollutants. Maryland is currently in non-attainment for ozone. There will be some benefit that we receive from these measures for greenhouse gases and getting us closer to attainment for ozone. But the biggest benefit to the citizens of Maryland will be in pollutants that are harmful to human health, but not EPA pollutants. These are black carbon, as comes from diesel exhaust, and ultrafine particles. So this recommendation is that we do an economic and health analysis with some modeling and measurements to understand the implementation of electrification of the fleet and so on, and how that will benefit the citizens of Maryland in terms of the direct health benefits. These are very small scale, so the size of a city. So the benefits will be felt locally as well as globally.
Thank you, Dr.
So it's a call for a study.
Discussion of STWG number 4. Okay, if there's no discussion, then we can move to vote STWG number 4 as proposed by the working group. All in favor of including STWG number 4 in the annual report, please raise your hands. Thank you. You can lower your hands in the room, and online, please put them up. Okay, are there any opposed to STWG number 4? Okay, are there any abstentions? Hands left over online, you can feel free to lower those. Okay, so STWG number 4 will be included in the annual report. 20 votes in favor. Okay, so then that takes us through the working group recommendations. We have one recommendation proposed by individual commissioners. It's at the end of the list in your packet. So we'll turn to those individual commissioners. There are multiple. We'll leave among yourselves. We'll introduce it to the group.
I will introduce for myself and Fernando and Russell. So this one is a global or federal looking, how can we protect our work at the state and what, and obviously observation of what the federal government is doing. So we request that the various state agencies that have purview investigate the federal environmental regulations that are proposed to be eliminated that could harm Maryland's efforts to protect the environment by their absence, and for the state to enact regulations that can help fill the void, such as the Big Beautiful Bill, took away tax credits for sustainability initiatives, the repeal of the power plant pollution protections with the stopping of the Clean Power Plan, Trump's unleashing of the American Energy Executive Order. EPA had 31 rollbacks targeting the Clean Air Act. And then there's a story about a Baltimore area farmer who was out $36,000 because of the loss of the USDA Clean Energy Grant. I could go on, but so open up for discussion.
Thank you, Dr. Golden. Discussion of the individual commissioner recommendation.
I'm a strong supporter of this. I feel that the more transparency we can have and to do a comprehensive inventory so everyone's aware of what's going on will be very helpful.
Did we do modeling already for this? For the university?
So yeah, MDE and UMD's Center for Global Sustainability have briefed the commission on national level analysis about greenhouse gas trends given federal rollbacks.
So how is this different?
Well, it would extend it further than just the greenhouse gas rollbacks that was presented at the on July 15th meeting, and to look at other sectors.
Also, I think it goes beyond analysis of voids and regulations, but actually enacting regulations to fill the void.
Yes.
Oh, this doesn't say enacting regulations.
It does, yes.
Did I miss that?
Enact
I think it does.
regulations that can help fill the void.
Regulations.
Oh,
It also isn't time limited. In other words,
Right.
a lot of bad has happened since the last time there was an evaluation of what had happened.
okay.
Yeah, Total.
The intent, I'm 100% there. My cynical, I guess, read of this moment is that this could be an 24/7. I mean, the amount of effort to do this could subsume the whole agency or agencies here. And it's written really like, what? I mean, there's 3 a day that are coming at us. And so I know that's, the intent is right, but I worry that the agencies are just gonna be drowning in these rollbacks and eliminations and, that were or are proposed to be eliminated. I mean, there's court cases, it goes back and forth. So, I don't have a great idea at the moment. But we, just in these little pages, we have thrown a lot, especially on MDE, let alone the other agencies. And I guess I want to make sure that this is time well spent in the end.
What about adding the word significantly before the word harm? So it's not every little small thing.
Helps, yep.
We would take that as a friendly amendment.
Sure.
Okay, so it would read, request the various state agencies that have purview to investigate federal environmental regulations that were or are proposed to be eliminated that could significantly harm Maryland's efforts to protect the environment by their absence. So
And I don't think we can recommend that as enact a regulation. I mean, we could recommend that they propose a regulation. So is it the expectation that these state agencies would develop the proposed regulation? I mean, how do you go from assessing the harm to repairing it? It's a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good question. We're thinking about it.
You have an idea?
Good question.
Do you have a suggestion for another word that we could use? I mean, I know it's like not, it jumps over just a few steps in the legislative process.
So
I guess in general, you know, we're not policymakers, we're the scientific group. And so we try to provide you the scientific basis on which to make policy. So help us out a little bit.
Okay.
We'll give you this information so that you can more effectively enact appropriate regulations.
At the state level, so the.
So let me make a suggestion. I'm sorry to cut you off. It's 3 minutes. Since we're tabling one other one and coming back, maybe we can work offline on this one. And then come back with something. So that's my suggestion here.
Motion to table.
Yeah, motion to table it. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's been a motion to table this until the November meeting. We have a second from one of the proposers. Is there discussion of that motion? Okay, why don't we move to vote on it? All in favor of tabling the individual commissioner recommendation number 1 until the November meeting, please raise your hands. Lower them in the room. Okay, you can lower them online. That looked unanimous. Just to check, all opposed, tabling. And are there any abstentions? Okay, so this recommendation will be tabled in the November meeting as well. That takes us through the recommendation today. Of the 8 remaining, the commission acted upon 6 and tabled 2 until the November meeting.
Okay.
So we are meeting again for what's planned to be the final meeting of the year on Tuesday, November 4th, the usual time, 1 to 3. At that meeting, we will have 2 recommendations tabled to act upon. We will also bring to the commission, other than that, an annual report. In prior years, when we've had still a little bit of moving target on the recommendations, we've effectively brought the entire annual report except for the recommendations section and asked the commission to sort of imagine, after we've finalized the recommendations, that you're looking at a report that includes the outcome of that, and then ask you to vote on it. But then the department and the ECO working group, the Education Communication Outreach Working Group, to put finishing touches and formatting on the document and then submit it to the Governor and General Assembly. That is the plan for the November 4th meeting here from 1 to 3. So thank you, Chair. If there's no other business, we can adjourn.
Yeah. Anything else before we?
Good job, people.
Really good job.
Hit it.
We almost did it.
30 seconds.
We did it. We did it.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
See you next
Thank you.
time.